I know, turn it back on. I was just finishing dinner.
Okay, we're going live, guys. Okay, we're now live, so I'm going to call the regular city council meeting of the city of Colleyville to order on May the 5th, 2020 at 7:30 PM. So we are now in session. Let me call the roll. Councilmember Nakamura,
Oh, here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood,
Here.
Councilmember Wheat,
Here.
the mayor is here, Councilmember Dodson,
Here.
Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Rigney.
Here.
So as everyone can see that may be watching this on TV, we're doing another hybrid meeting where we have three council members, city attorney, and our Rabbi Charlie on WebEx. Other than that, we're going to run the meeting like we normally do, and everybody can see everything, and we can all vote. So only thing we'll do different is we'll vote manually rather than electronically. So with that, the invocation this evening is going to be given by Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker of Congregation Beth Israel, and we appreciate that. Then after he does that, then I will lead us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. So everyone in the room, would you please stand? Rabbi?
I'll stand as well. I think. Let me see how that works. As the City Council of Colleyville opens its meeting this evening, I'm going to ask you to indulge me for just a moment. The Jewish community is in the midst of the counting of the Omer. In both Leviticus and Deuteronomy, we're asked to count 7 weeks or 50 days from the festival of Passover to the festival of Shavuot, which some of you might know of as the Feast of Weeks. This is a time period where, according to Jewish custom, there are no celebrations, with the exception of one day. There's no shaving, which was seen as a sign of mourning. And so this isn't a COVID beard, this is actually an Omer beard. Now, some say that this was due to a plague, which hits a little bit too close to home these days. Some say it was due to a war, but I prefer to explain this tradition according to the definition of the Omer itself. So what's an Omer? An Omer is a measure of grain, and the Omer count took place during the grain harvest in Israel. The grain harvested represented the bread that was going to provide for most of the year's nourishment and nutrition. It was a time of uncertainty, the grain harvest, because if it wasn't a good harvest, there could be terrible consequences. Now, I don't know about all y'all, but most of my congregants aren't grain farmers, but I still encourage them to count the Omer each night during this period of time. It's just a short blessing and then literally counting the days and the weeks. And when they do so, I encourage them to set canned goods or some money aside as a charitable contribution. Because as we know, whether you're a farmer or not everyone has a good harvest. And of course, right now, there's far too many people who are in need of help. Now, eventually, this tradition got all worked out for the good, but it had to get worked out. There was a lot of uncertainty around the Omer count, just as there's always uncertainty around any harvest. There were questions. Why did people do it? Why weren't there any celebrations? There wasn't a lot of clarity. There were even arguments and fights about it in ancient times, and I can show you those texts. But right now, we are in the midst of terrible uncertainty. And yes, we know that, and y'all probably know far too well, that there are plenty of arguments. And trying to figure out the right thing to do in the midst of a global pandemic, well, that's not something that anybody signed up for. How can we care for medical personnel? How can we care for first responders? How can we care for our business community? How can we care for all of the citizens of this great city? How can we support them and keep them safe? There are no easy answers. And you, those of you who are sitting before us today, you have a very important role to play. While you have an important role to play, you don't have enough information, and you won't have enough information. And you are entrusted with the care of this city. So I invite all who pray and all with hope in their heart to please join with me in asking for wisdom and compassion for the Colleyville City Council, our mayor, and all who serve our city, that they can guide us through this crisis. Together, we can make it through. Together we say,
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rabbi, thank you so much for those thoughts, prayers, and comments. We definitely need wisdom and compassion. I agree with you 100%. So tonight, as you can see, if maybe you can see, or when the camera eventually pans across the council chambers, there's really not very many people here, but we do have the seats laid out so that if you wish to come, you will be separated from a safe distance. In addition, we have a computer. Do we still have that set up or not? That was just for the work session.
That was just for the work session.
Okay, never mind. We'll talk about that later. Yeah. What I was going to say, since I've already started, we did have a work session at 5:30, and we did it in chambers. There were a number of people here in the chambers, but we also set a computer up in the lobby in case people wanted to come in and comment and listen, but didn't want to come into the chambers. We created a way for that to happen. We do not have that for the meeting, but if you're certainly welcome to come, and you will be safely separated up here. So with that, we just came out of executive session as we normally do, and in that executive session, we talked about several things tonight, and we did have something that we need to take action on, so I'm going to move to agenda item 2, which is reading and public hearing of Resolution R-19-4443, a resolution approving council action regarding executive session items at the regular city council meeting of December 3, 2019. That's the wrong date.
I think that date is from when we approved the last.
Yeah, so it should be May 5, 2020.
Should be R20.
Oh, hang on, we need to.
4494, I think.
We have the wrong, yeah, hang on, give us 1 second. Need to change paperwork. Those things happen. Not a problem. While we're waiting, can all you guys on WebEx hear us okay? Just nod, I can see you. Great.
Yeah, it's great. We're
Got
fine.
it.
All good.
Good,
Very fine.
thanks. Hey. Christine, I have a copy I can use that, the one you, so I'm good. Let me go with this. So this is reading and public hearing of Resolution R-20-4494, a resolution approving council action regarding executive session items at the regular city council meeting of May 5, 2020. Whereas following discussion in executive session and in full accordance with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act, the city council determined that the following action is in the best interest of the health, safety, and welfare of the public. And whereas the city council had determined that there are few remaining undeveloped parcels of real property along State Highway 26 corridor within the city, and whereas the city of Colleyville, in partnership with other local taxing authorities, previously established a tax increment financing reinvestment zone, TIF, which presently contains dedicated funding for the enhancement and development of the State Highway 26 corridor. And whereas the City Council has declared that there is a special need and public purpose for acquiring undeveloped real property along State Highway 26 corridor for fair market value to ensure the remaining open spaces within this area are responsibly developed in a manner that will provide the highest value to the Colleyville community. Whereas the City Council finds that it is in the best interest of the public to acquire the real property described as Lot 1R, Block 1 of the Gardens, in addition in the City of Colleyville, Tarrant County, Texas, being approximately 3.81 acres of real property located near the intersection of Colleyville Boulevard and John McCain Road, herein the property, and has determined that the fair market value of the property is $1.5 million. Now therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the City Council hereby approves the purchase of the property for a purchase price not to exceed $1.5 million, plus all costs associated with closing, including the title, inspection, and other professional fees reasonably necessary for closing. Section 2, that the source of funding for the acquisition of the foregoing property will be from the TIF, and the city manager or his designee is hereby authorized to negotiate and execute all contracts and other documents associated with the acquisition of the property, subject to review by the city attorney, and it is so resolved. Good point. I made an error and nobody caught it, except city manager. I did not call.
Chuck actually caught it.
Chuck caught it. Good man, Chuck. I was just testing you. You passed. I didn't call the roll.
You called it so many times tonight.
I know.
You've just forgotten.
Well, I'll take it back.
I thought you did.
I did. I checked it off.
Then it was
He
my
was
fault.
asleep.
Definitely did.
My fault. I didn't hear you call it.
Yeah.
You called the roll.
You answered because I checked.
Then it was my fault.
But see, that's how long I remember things.
What's going on down there?
And we're having a good time.
Are y'all having way
Come
too
on.
much fun
This is the
for
fun
Cinco
time.
de Mayo?
Cinco de Mayo.
Okay,
Sorry, Mayor.
we're back, Mark.
All right.
With that, so I just read the resolution we're having, and Mark's going to tell us about it.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. This item, as the mayor mentioned, is for the purchase and acquisition of the property that's located at the southeast corner of 26 and John McCain. It's just south of the Bear Creek Wine and Spirit Store. This is one of the two key parcels, which is the entryway into Colleyville, which we call our northern gateway. As you remember, you can see on your screen, the property shaded in red is the 15-acre property that we acquired earlier this year. The property that we're attempting to acquire tonight is shaded in blue. It's 3.81 acres. It's currently zoned CC1. There's a small sliver on the backside of the property that is zoned PUD-C, which is kind of a leftover piece from the subdivision to the east. So it has current zoning entitlements, makes it very attractive for developers to look at and potentially develop without much input from the city because it does have zoning existing on the property. The appraised value, the city received an appraisal earlier this year in February, and the appraised value came back at $1.659 million, which is $10 a square foot. The current price that we have negotiated is $1.5 million, so as you can see, we're getting a really good deal on this property. Just as a note, this property was the site that Racetrack was going to acquire and develop a gas station on. When they were doing that, their price was $1.6 million, so we're getting the price even lower than the private development was. The property has significant frontage on State Highway 26, making it very valuable. It's at a signalized intersection, a hard corner, if you will, and so it makes it very valuable. It's very deep, and so it's a good site for retail office uses. As I mentioned, this is at the entryway into Colleyville, and we believe it's a very valuable pickup for the city in terms of overall site planning for the Northern Gateway, as we have acquired the 15 acres across on the west side of 26.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for Mark or
I
comments?
do, Mayor. I would just like to say this is the same piece of property that was going to be developed by another developer after the racetrack, but that deal fell through too. A lot of people have asked me about that, and I just wanted to make sure that they knew that that deal did fall through, and that's why we're picking it up.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Thank you.
That's correct.
Any other comments, questions? Not, I'm going to open the public hearing. The public hearing is open. I have no cards, and there's no one here that wants to speak on this item, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. So with that,
I'll move to approve Resolution R-20-4494.
I'll second.
okay, I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Kelly and a second by Councilmember Nakamura. Okay, I'm going to call the vote manually. Councilmember Nakamura?
Yay, yes.
Aye, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Aye, yay, I'm good.
Totally went blank, sorry, yes, 100%.
Mayor Pro Tem Linda Mood.
Aye.
Okay. Councilmember Wheat.
Can you follow that one, Bobby?
Mayor votes
No.
aye. Councilmember Dodson.
Hooray, aye.
Hooray. Hey, I'll take that. Councilmember Kelly.
aye.
Aye. Councilmember Rigney.
Aye.
Great, thank you, guys. So that motion is approved, therefore the resolution is approved. We're still having fun, that's good. Okay, with that, we will move to agenda item number 3, which is, hang on, announcements, proclamations, and presentations. And normally our custom has been to make announcements here, but last week, in view of the pandemic, I spent some time going over the status and the rationale for what action that we have taken in the city. I'm going to do similar today. I'm not going to take near the time that I took last time, but I do want to review with you what the current status of things are and provide an opportunity for the council and all of us to have any discussion whatsoever that anyone wants to have on this. So let me first do a quick summary. So on this slide, I just restate what I say every time I talk about this. We, the city, follow the president, CDC guidelines, and Governor Abbott. So we're going to follow their what they have for us. Governor Abbott issued an executive order that took effect May 1, and therefore I issued a proclamation that took effect May 1. In my last, I've been doing weekly video updates. I talked about this and reviewed that with everyone. But to do it quickly, in that proclamation and that executive order opened up restaurants and retailers and movie theaters to operate at a 25% occupancy. So it opened them up to the general public, which was a huge change, just a limitation on how many people they could have there at one time. Library can also operate at that 25% occupancy, and our Colleyville Library is open. Churches can provide in-person services, provided that they do the distance limiting, especially at seating, like between family groups. So family groups can sit together, but beyond that, they need to be separated by 6 feet from other groups and have every other row vacant. The governor also issued quite a long document that spoke to every business about what the guidelines are. If you're watching it, it's this document here, which you may not be able to see, but it's on our website and also the governor's. It's called the Governor's Report to Open Texas. So there's a lot of information in there about how to safely distance and what processes and procedures to use under nearly any situation to be safe about it. Now, the one thing that, and we were very pleased with all of that because Governor, in doing all of that, really affirmed what we had done in Colleyville the week before. One thing that was different is he did not want salons, massage establishments, and gym to operate. And so we had allowed them to operate appointments, and so we changed that to be consistent with him. Now, after that, one thing we did, there is a process by which we can request businesses be declared essential business. And so we did send a letter to the mayor, the governor's office, and M. Kim, who is heading the state emergency processes, to request that our small fitness centers and small salons that typically do one-on-one, one-on-two, one-on-family, et cetera, or small training of 10 people or less, which is what we wanted to do, should be an essential business. There is no reason, it's safe as many other things that are open. So we made that argument, haven't heard back yet. And we have opened all the city facilities to the public as of this week. So that's current as of this morning. Next slide. And so the governor had a press conference this afternoon. So this is late breaking news at 2:30 this afternoon. And I missed the very beginning of it, but I got in pretty quick. And this here is just a high level summary of my understanding of Governor Abbott's verbal clarification of his May 1st order. So this is what he said in the news conference today, and we haven't yet been able to get our hands on any documents from the governor's office, so this is what I heard. And so I just want everybody to understand that. This is what I heard, and I've confirmed with other people that heard this, so I think this is pretty close. One thing he did that I was very pleased with, he said, I want to interpret my order as of May 1st, and one of the interpretations was there is not a requirement for 25% occupancy limitation on restaurant outside patios. So that's good. We have been saying it's 25. So that opens the patios up. I think our restaurants will be happy about that. He also must have had a lot of questions on weddings and funerals and burials and things of that nature. And he said, hey, what that means is those he puts in the category of churches. And so the rules for churches apply to those. Many people have asked those questions. So clearly churches are free to have services in their facility. And all they have to do is what I described a while ago, is be sure people sitting in there are limited by that 6-foot distance between family groups. There is not a 25% occupancy limit on churches. So those things apply to weddings and funerals. So he clarified that. I think that's good news. There's been a lot of challenges around that. He also made the comment that wedding receptions, typically receptions are held in halls, reception halls or something. So he said in that situation, he would expect like a 25% occupancy limit. And he said a number of other things. I didn't try to capture everything he said, but what he did say next was effective May 8th, which is this Friday, then he's opening cosmetology, hair salons, barbershop, nails, tanning salons. It can be open to the public with some limitations. And those limitations are the things that we've talked about before. I'm not going to repeat them here. For instance, a barbershop or hair salon. You got one customer and one person doing the hair. He did recommend and desires that people wear a mask in those situations and follow, disinfect equipment and all those things that you would expect that are written in down as guidelines. So that's supposed to May the 8th be effective. Now, what I don't know is he doing an interpretation of his current order, or is he going to issue a new order before May the 8th? Don't know the answer to that. Then he talked about May the 18th, which is the Monday week. His current order runs out May the 15th, so why he chose May the 18th, I'm not sure. Nonetheless, he's going to say, okay, gyms can open with 25% occupancy limit. One thing, and with the appropriate safety limitations, one thing he did comment on is, hey, he thought lockers and showers should not open yet. So all gyms have those, so just don't use them right now and do all the disinfectant and whatnot. So he's moving as he said he would when he came out with the May 1st executive order. I'm going to move fairly quickly to make some additional openings. So he started that process. Again, this is what I heard. We will undoubtedly get actual paperwork from his office by tomorrow. I figure hopefully by the end of this meeting, but by tomorrow we should have that. But I wanted to pass that on to everyone. Another thing he talked about that really is important that I wanted to continue to say, there are no mandatory requirements for face mask or the other stuff. All the safety guidelines, distancing and disinfecting and all those things are stated in the form of guidelines. But I want to stress they are important. Last meeting I talked about since there's no vaccine, some medicines are starting to come out, but we have no hard good medicines. Nonetheless, the biggest defense from the virus for each of us individually is good practices, safety, distancing practices. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, appropriate times wear a mask, all of those things. They're written down everywhere, and so again, personally, I do those things. I would encourage you to. He made a real important point for people. Said 75% of the deaths are for people over 65. So the over 65 group, of which I'm one, is a high-risk group. And so that group needs to pay particular attention to this, and we all need to help them do that, whatever we can do. And so, for instance, what I think about is, if you're around someone over 65 in some setting, wearing a mask is as much for their benefit as anybody, as yours. And so just think about it, be a good neighbor with them. Let's all help each other do those things. That's important. So with that said, let me go back to some of the data. Next slide. So last time I went in some detail through the whole thought process of, because I say we're making database decisions here. We don't have perfect information, as Rabbi said in his thoughts and prayers. Yes, that doesn't mean you don't have to manage the city and do the best you can do. So that's what we're doing. So I showed a model last time. I'm not going to go through all the detail, but the data we're looking at, this is the Tarrant County data as of today, I believe. It comes out every day. What you see on here is the blue line are the cumulative positives. Now, that's not ever going to go down because we're adding every time another positive, that number is only going to go up. Now, the yellowish color is cumulative recovery. So those are the people that have gotten well. And so the actives is the difference of the positives and the recoveries. That's how many people actively have the virus. And so the green line is active. That's the important line on this chart. And so you can see the shape. It rolled off once. It went up some. It appears to start to roll off again. Hopefully it keeps going that way. The other really important number on this chart is deaths. Deaths are so low on this scale you can't see them, but it's right around 80 for Tarrant County, if I remember correctly.
77.
77, okay. So that's the information. You can look at that information yourself on the Tarrant County webpage. We follow it rigorously. Now the next one I'm going to show you, and last time I talked about Texas too, but there's similar characteristics in all this. I didn't go that high up. Colleyville, so this is Colleyville situation, the same type plot. Again, cumulative positives. Cumulatively, we're up to 20. Cumulative recoveries, we're up to 11. So the actives are at 9. And so, our recoveries have just surpassed our actives. So you can see we're on the, it looks like we're beginning to trend down. And thank goodness we have no deaths. And so if you look at the state overall, Tarrant County and Colleyville, they're all very similar. I don't just look at Colleyville because Colleyville's too small of a sample. It's not a big enough sample to guarantee you're statistically significant everywhere. So anyway, yes, George?
Just quickly, the governor started out talking about these charts on the statewide.
Yes.
And statewide, the recoveries have overtaken actives.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, George, because one thing I was going to comment on, and as you just pointed out in his press conference today, he spent time at the beginning of that press conference doing exactly what I'm doing, going over the data, talking about the data, pointing the data out to all of us, saying, hey, this is looking like we expect it and want it to. That's why I'm beginning to open it up a little more. So he's doing the same thing. He's a very database driven guy, and I appreciate that. Next slide. Now, this is a snapshot of the Tarrant County, one of the Tarrant County pages that you can, anyone can go look at. So at the top, I just put the takeaway. 4% of Tarrant County hospital bed capacity is utilized by COVID patients. So the key numbers on this is that number at the top right. It's 198, and that is confirmed COVID-19 occupied beds. That's hard data. That's the most important number that I look at right now as far as I'm concerned. Previously, I talked a lot about hospital bed capacity. So on the top line on the left-hand side, you can see occupied beds at 2,620, available beds at 2,094, total bed capacity 4,714. I want to point out a couple of things to you. So the there are about 44% of the total bed capacity available. That's that 2,000 number. Last week, that total bed capacity was like nearly 5,800. It was 5,780. So those two things are happening. The bed capacity is being allowed to go down a little bit, and I called Judge Whitley today, asked him to give me, if he could give me better information about why it went down 1,000, he hadn't called me back yet, but I suspect it's because some of the special things that were done to ensure we had bed availability, maybe like putting 2 people in a room or something, they're beginning to change that. And they're able to do that because we have so much bed capacity, it's not an issue. And also, as occupied beds have gone up a little bit, I mean, that percentage, it was 50-50, it's now 44-56, because the total beds available is down. So that's not a big deal. The other one is available ventilators. We're only using 4% 70% of the ventilators are available. So we got plenty of ventilators, we got plenty of hospital beds, not an issue. So how many COVID patients are in hospital beds is important. Next one. Oh, next slide. Yeah, now this is one I didn't show last time, and George put me onto this one. I think this is a very good graphic, and this is a bar chart. You can't read it, I appreciate, unfortunately on TV you can't read it, but this is COVID-19 deaths per 100,000 population. So this is relative to the population, which is the appropriate way to look at this. And this came out in the Mises Institute on April the 28th. New York has nearly 50 times more COVID-19 deaths per capita than Texas. And so I pointed out Texas is way down there at the bottom, that's in blue, and at the top, of course, is New York. Number 2 is New Jersey. So you can see graphically that's, we are definitely different than New York and New Jersey, no doubt about it. You don't hear that talked about a lot in news media, but it's a huge difference between what's going on here and what's going on there. Also, if you look at total cases, and I didn't put this graphic, I just made a comment there at the lower right, nearly 50% of all cases in the U.S. are in New York and New Jersey, 2 states. And so that's, again, that just differentiates how big a difference there is between Texas and the states that have it worst right now. Huge difference. So I thought that was useful data to be aware of. Next slide. Now, I did show this last time. I'm just doing it again. Again, this is statistics per total population. That last one was per capita for 100,000 people. So I do this for Texas. Last time I did it for Texas, population of about 29 million. And so you can see we have 407,000 people tested for COVID, and that's about 1.4% of the people. Got 32,000 positives. That's about 0.11% of the population. We have 1,533 hospitalized. That's about 5/1,000ths of 1%. We have 884 deaths, very tragic. However, that's 3/1,000ths of 1%. So 0.00003. So I say that just to point out the numbers are nowhere near what was predicted when this started. It's down in the range of many other diseases that we face. Next slide. So that was Texas. This is Tarrant County. Population about 2.1. The positives are about 0.12%. 198 in the hospital. It's about 9/1,000ths of 1%. 77 deaths, about 3/1,000ths of 1%. Notice those percentages between Tarrant County and Texas are virtually the same. There's really not a lot of difference. Next slide. I take it down to Colleyville. We have about 27,000. We have 9 actives, about 3/100ths of a percent, and we have no deaths. I just wanted to make the point, those statistics hold across those geographic sizes. I think that's relevant. Next slide. Now, so with that said, I'm going to change a little bit. So that just gives you kind of the status of the numbers and things we're looking at and why we are doing some of the things that we have done. One thing that we have done is clearly the virus and people being sick and in the hospital and is the highest priority. That safety against that is the highest priority. But number two is how do we keep our businesses alive and what can we do to help them? And so we have been active in this area. So as you know, we had put together our $35 gift cards and $50 Colleyville Cares cards. We sent out $20,000 in 2 different mailings, twice to all the households in Colleyville. And we got a report on that from Adrian today, and we've accomplished like 50% utilization of all those.
A total of 10,800 gift cards as
Yeah.
of today.
Yeah, so to let you know how excited we are about that, when we did our $10 gift cards a long time ago because we were trying to help businesses out because of Highway 26 construction, we had 18%, so it went to 18 to 50, which means all of you, our citizens, were fully engaged in this, and we really appreciate it. And the businesses were fully engaged, and we really appreciate them. And our purpose was to get money into the businesses' hands, and we accomplished that to the tune of, so far, of, I don't know, $355,000 or something like that. We'll probably still have some cards coming in. But I said all that to say we're certainly trying to come up with creative ways to do everything we can to help our businesses. So that's right now. And so right now, the federal government has SBA loans of all kinds of programs going on that are in reality short term. I mean, they're there to inject money into the economy, to get money to people, to help them, get money to businesses, to keep them alive. That won't last long. That'll go away. And as the pandemic starts rolling off, we got to continue to be serious about getting our economy back and hopefully making our businesses as viable as we can. So I'm saying all this just to tell you we're thinking about that strategically. We are planning ahead of the game so that we're ready, and we're doing things now. So I wanted to begin to tell you a little bit more about the Colleyville Business Center, which is shown on this slide. So we've talked a lot about the Colleyville Business Center. I hope you know what that is. We have leased the Wachovia Bank Building on Highway 26 for that purpose. Remodeling of that facility has started. It's already started, and the concept of the Colleyville Business Center is to be the single point of contact, single point of place. If you have a need, a desire, a question, go to that facility, and there's going to be somebody there that can help you out. And so the things, I'll go to the little bullet at the top, business retention. So those bubbles surrounding the Colleyville Business Center are the types of things that we will be undertaking via that mechanism. So business retention, that $35 gift card I just spoke of, is about business retention. And we will do other things to make sure, and we're thinking out of the box. I mean, we're thinking, I'll share that with you later, but we've already started some of this thinking process. Business education and training and business assistance and advertisement is really important. And so we're partnering up with the Chamber of Commerce and SCORE, and I can never remember that
Service
acronym.
Corps of Retired Executives.
There it is, Service Corps of Retired Executives, a great organization. They've been around many, many years. We've been a partner with them for a long time. They actually use the office next to my office up here on the 3rd floor. And so we will continue that partnership. And they are experts about these SBA loan programs and all the government programs. They have a lot of training that they can provide for our businesses, whether it be existing or new. And the Chamber of Commerce likewise have a lot of services they provide. Of course, I hope you remember this, Chamber of Commerce and SCORE are going to be officing on that business center in the Wachovia building. And then business development, so that's new business. So it's interesting statistics that if you look at any period of recession, and guess what? We're in a recession driven by the pandemic. If you look at any period of recession, that's when the majority of businesses have been started. And it's very important to the economy because also if you look at where jobs come from, the majority of jobs come from small business. And in fact, the majority of the small businesses, if you look at jobs going away and coming back, small businesses are fairly steady at a high level of jobs. Big businesses are the ones that dip. They're the ones that lay a lot of people off and then hire a lot of people. And so small businesses are critical to our economy. And so clearly, we're going to be doing things to help development of businesses, new businesses. And we got a tremendous citizenry here that have done that, or executives, they know about it, so we got a lot of resources we can tap into. So I just wanted to share with you those thoughts. That's what we're doing. We're serious about it. You know that we're willing to stick our neck out and do something, and we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to do it. And we're not going to wait around to do it, we're going to move on some of this stuff. So I'm just giving you a heads up. You'll hear a lot more about this in the future. Current updates, Carolyn Sims was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Chelsea Rose recently came to be the new president because Carolyn was resigned. And so as of this week, Carolyn's now working for the city. So she's contracted with the city part-time, and she will be assisting us in this, actually the Colleyville Business Center manager. That's what she's going to do. So she's an excellent resource. She's plugged in everywhere. She did a great job at the chamber, and she'll do a great job for the city. So she will be a conduit between the city and the chamber also. I've already said the remodel is underway. Anticipate opening in mid-July of the building. But if we have something ready to go we want to do before that building's open, we will do it. We won't wait on that. And when we do open that building, we're going to have a big show and tell and a party. So we'll make a splash. And I've already commented on, we've already started exploring partnerships and programming. So I think it's going to be fun. I think it'll be meaningful to our businesses and all of us as citizens of Colleyville. So I think that was my last slide. Okay, with that, anybody else have comments or talk about any of this or questions or comments that you may have? Yeah, George, did you? Oh, your face popped up, so I thought you meant to say something.
It's George.
Any other comments?
Nope.
No? Okay, great. Well, thank you for indulging me in that, and I will still plan to do another weekly video update, as I have been, to let everybody in town know what's going on. So I probably will continue that through the pandemic process.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just a quick moment. It's worth noting, normally we have a lot of announcements, but because we've had so much going on with the pandemic, we haven't had the chance. But I know a couple of council members wanted to point out that Adrian Lothery recently was named the upcoming president for the Government Finance Officers Association of Texas.
Of the state.
And
She's a goat.
That's huge.
She's a goat, and she's going to lead the gov votes. She is a greatest of all time, but she's going to lead she's president-elect of the Government Finance Officers Association of Texas. So that makes her the lead vote. Okay? So that's what you can call her when you see her, but it doesn't surprise anybody. The slate of officers will go before the organization for a vote, and I'm sure that she will be voted in. And so her term will run from June 2020 through May of 2021, and we want to congratulate her. Doesn't surprise us. She's an amazing young lady that has done great things here and will go on to do many great things. And we thank you for everything.
We should have our streamers.
Oh,
Yes.
We'll have to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can point them at you. No, I thank you
can
for
run
doing
with your
that.
bubble wand.
Yeah. I say this all the time. I hope you don't get tired of me saying, we have the greatest staff ever in the whole United States. I've gone beyond Texas because it's absolutely true. No question about it. Greatest leadership team and staff of any city in Texas for sure. Guaranteed. Okay, with that, we're going to move to agenda item number 4. This is reading and public hearing of Resolution R-20-4495, a resolution approving city council action under consent items at the regular city council meeting of May 5, 2020. Whereas City Council has taken action on certain items on the agenda under consent items. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Colleyville, Texas, Section 1, that the agenda decisions approved by City Council action under consent items as follows are hereby adopted. A, approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of April 21, 2020. B, approval of a construction services agreement with Cousins Waterproofing LLC, DBA Next Gen Construction, for the roof restoration project in an amount not to exceed $685,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. C, appointment of a contracting party representative and alternate contracting party representative to represent the City of Colleyville at the Trinity River Authority's Tarrant County Water Supply Project customer city meetings and an operating emergency contact. D, appointment of a contracting party representative, alternate contracting party representative to the Advisory Committee of the Trinity River Authority's Central Regional Wastewater System and Operating Emergency Contact, and it is so resolved. Ray?
All right. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Ray Silveras, Director of Public Works. I'll be speaking on the next 3 items. Let me start with item 4B. The Justice Center roof replacement involves removing and replacing approximately 27,000 square feet of standing seam metal roof and underlayment, and removing and replacing trim metals, flashing, gutters, and downspouts. During the design phase of the project, the decision was made to include a full replacement of the roof rather than a seal coating based on the cost-benefit analysis. The estimated cost for seal coating the roof was $246,500 and would provide a limited 10-year warranty. The full replacement, as recommended at a cost of $479,500, provides 100% replacement cost and has a 30-year warranty. The Colleyville Center roof replacement involves removing and replacing approximately 11,750 square feet of standing seam metal roof and underlayment. This includes removing and replacing metal trims just as well as the other one, and the cost was $205,500. All this was the fiscal year 2020 capital improvement program included $246,500 for the Justice Center roof as a roof coating project and $300,000 for the Colleyville Center roof replacement. I want to stay there a little bit. So we were originally intending that money that was set aside a year ago was only for the limited 10-year warranty after doing the cost-benefit analysis with this 30-year warranty, which covers everything, assuming that the right contractor gets it, the manufacturer, if there is a leak, will cover everything underneath that roof. With no questions, no problems reimbursing the city for whatever was damaged if the roof does leak or fails in any way. So that's something we were looking at.
Okay.
So I'll go on here a little bit. After reviewing prices and referencing qualifications, the recommendation is to award the agreement to Cousins Waterproof LLC, doing business as Next Gen Construction. The 2 lowest bid submittals did not include submittals on the specified roof system and were disqualified. This recommendation is based upon the contractor having a reputation for being willing to fix any issues identified in order to provide a high-quality finish installation, and the roofing manufacturer has confirmed they have bid the specified product. The roofing material provides a 30-year warranty with 100% replacement cost if damages isn't cured, as long as the material is installed by a certified installer according to the installation guidelines. Additionally, staff directly notified a list of local contractors who may be interested in this bid opportunity. The project had 29 general contractors and 16 subcontractors. We did receive 14 sealed bids, which were open and publicly read aloud on March 31st, 2020. The reason I didn't bring this to the last council meeting is I wanted to make sure that those 2 low bids weren't qualified, so I wanted to spend extra time to making sure that we can make it work. But the 685 is the best contractor we have to get this job done, to get the 30-year warranty with 100% coverage.
Okay. Okay.
So staff recommends approval on that one.
Okay. A question about the warranties. It wasn't clear to me. I know what I heard you say, I think, is for the material, if the installer is certified by the manufacturer of the material, then that's required for the manufacturer to warranty the roof.
Correct.
So I know just like normal house roofs, what happens if you have damage or something and it has to be replaced, then, the insurance company replaces in that case. But in this case, is that the manufacturer is the one that's providing the warranty, or is there also warranty by the installer for their work? You understand
So-
what I'm asking?
So, yeah, so it's kind of
Okay.
tangled together. So
Okay.
the manufacturer is vetting, those contractors are going to install his equipment that they're vetted, and they have been proven to install this with the quality that they expect to make this roof last those 30 years. So
Okay.
if there is a problem with it, they will cover it. So if there is storm damage or anything, this will cover all that.
Okay, so the manufacturer has already certified this particular
Yes,
company?
and that's why, like I said, I was going to bring it last time.
Okay,
But I wanted to make sure that those last two, maybe they did miss something.
Okay.
We had them go back and see
okay,
if they would have specified the right roof product, would they have come in? They came up higher, so I worked
Yeah.
with one, I worked with two, couldn't get them to work per what we wanted here for
okay.
the roofs. So number 3 is the best one we have at a good price.
Okay. Does the warranty also cover, like if it leaked and it damaged the building outside the roof, would they cover the repair of
They
that?
cover everything underneath the roof,
Everything?
Yes.
Okay, good.
100%.
Because we had a lot of trouble with that roof
Yes.
previously.
Absolutely. And that's why one of the reasons when we
Yeah.
looked at it a year ago versus
Yeah.
what we're trying to do now is we
Yeah.
did have a lot of troubles with the
Yeah.
roof, so we want to
Okay.
make sure we get the right product installed.
Any other questions?
Also,
Great.
I do. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. First thing, I don't want anybody thinking I'm being rude by looking down. My big computer wouldn't download, so I'm having to do it on my phone, look at these contracts and stuff. So if you catch me looking down, that's what I'm doing.
That's okay.
But anyway, the other thing I wanted to tell you was that as I was reading through the contracts, a lot of those roofers that were given bids were actually using subcontractors. And Next Gen was doing it themselves, it looks like. At first, I was getting a little heartburn over the $215,000 difference, but you start reading deep into the contracts and the qualifications, I could see why we went with not the lowest bidder on this. And I think that's actually a good job on that part, Ray, by picking these people, because that extra money is going to go a long, long ways with these expensive roofs we're fixing to put on these two buildings.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what we wanted to make sure we picked the right contractor for this one.
Any other comments or questions on this particular?
Ray, did you want to talk a little bit about the consultant you used for the roof choice process?
Yes, so we use, the architect is Galen, it's GHLA, I forget all the initials, what
Yeah.
they stand for. I just know I deal with
I
Galen.
understand that.
I deal with so many initials. But yes, they are the ones who came with us. Once we hired them on boards, they're the ones, let's look at using a 30-year deal to where we see you have continuous problems with the roofs. Let's get something that's going to guarantee to stand up to the time, so.
Okay. Good.
I have a quick question. Ray, how much did we have in the plan again? I didn't catch, for each roof? What
So,
was the original?
so for the Justice Center, we had $246,500. And for the
Okay.
Colleyville Center, we had $300,000. So for a grand total, $546,500. And we're awarding it $685.
Yeah, that sounds like a great deal to me.
Yes.
Said George never.
Thank you.
What did you say? Said George never.
What?
Sorry, George, I had to
Yeah.
tease you a little.
Okay.
I imagine you were. I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
She said you were a good guy, George.
I can't believe that.
Okay, and I'm going to handle 4C and 4D together, respectively. One is for the potable water treatment side, and the other is for the wastewater treatment side. So I'll just do a quick read-up. As a city of Colleyville, we are a member of the Trinity River Authority for the Tarrant County Water Supply Project, which treats all of our provides us all of our treated water, and the Central Regional Wastewater System, which treats the city wastewater. Per the letter dated April 13th, 2020, from the Executive Manager, Northern Region of TRA, she is requesting that we nominate a contracting party representative and an alternate contracting party representative and an emergency contracting party representative. And I would be the appointed one. Kyle Lester will be the alternative, and Daryl Utmore, the operations manager, will be the emergency contact.
Okay.
And we recommend for both of those.
Great.
And that's all I got.
Any other question for Ray from anybody?
No.
Okay,
Pretty
very
straightforward.
good. Want to open a public hearing? Public hearing is open. No cards. Anyone want to speak? No one here wants to speak, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. The motion is in order.
I move adoption to Resolution R 204495.
Second.
Second.
Have I have a motion to approve by Councilmember Dodson, and I heard two people, I'm not sure who.
Rigney?
Rigney.
Kelly, okay, and second by Councilmember Rigney. Okay, so with that, we'll vote, starting with Mayor Pro Tem. How do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Wheat?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Councilmember Dodson?
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly?
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney?
Aye.
Councilmember Nakamura?
Aye.
That motion's approved, therefore the resolution is approved. Thank you. We'll move to agenda item 5A. This is second reading and public hearing of ordinance O-20-2114, approval of the adoption of the City of Colleyville Water Conservation and Drought Contingency Plan 2020. Right?
All right, good evening again. So item 5A, we read this last time, and as you were aware today, there was a couple emails that I sent to you, to the council, and to the mayor, showing some updates that we were doing in the plan. So real quick, I'll go through a recap of what the plan is. So the objective of this plan is to increase efficiency of water use and reduce water demands without adversely affecting the population and the economic growth of the city. The fundamental strategy for this plan is to be able to respond appropriately to water supply or emergencies. This plan is required to be updated every 5 years. Real quick, the city's water system has over 207 miles of distribution lines and over 10,000 service connections. We have 3 elevated storage tanks and 1 ground storage tank located at the pump station on LD Lockett. We have the capacity to hold 8.5 million gallons of water. One thing to note here is while the city's mandated to have a plan in place, the city does not have to activate it until the city declares the need for it. Our city is always in a water awareness stage, meaning that we're always trying to be cautious of how much water we use and making sure we're not wasting it. Like I said earlier, we made some changes to the plan that resulted in the city staff having more flexibility when implementing the plan while still keeping the intent of the drought plan intact. Staff recommends adoption of the Colleyville Water Conservation and Drought Contingency Plan, and I'm here for any questions.
Question for Ray?
I thought it was well thought out.
Yeah, as good, I will point out that, Colleyville has, the residents anyway, over time, there's a chart in here where it shows that over the last 5 years or so, Colleyville has, residents-wise, has reduced their water usage. And in the plan, it does call for over the next decade for a 5% reduction per year. It's got highs and lows based on rainfall, and we're falling within where we expect to be. And so I think that's all good. And then for those that haven't seen the plan, it just lays out different contingencies, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, should we have a drought. And it defines what you do in stage 1, what you do in stage 2, what you do in stage 3. Stage 3 is really a bad deal. I mean, we got a water problem, so we're really going to shut a lot of stuff down. But that's what the plan does. So right. It's very thorough, it's very long, it's got a lot of information in it. So thank you for putting that together and updating, and I guess we do it every 5 years. Ms. Did you want to comment on that at all?
No, I think these are just important plans to discuss from time to time. It is a 5-year approval, and the plan is something we will execute only when necessary. But it's important to note that Colleyville is a single source recipient of water. And so that supplier, TRA, may experience issues with their system and their conveyance format, or we may have an extended drought period. And so any of these things can occur at various times. We need to be prepared to deal with them to ensure that we maintain the appropriate pressure and supply of water.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will say that if you look at, and I didn't take the time to go get the data to show it tonight, but I think our water source, Trinity River Authority, has a good supply of water compared to many others, and so we're fortunate here that they're a supplier. We are in a contract with them that's probably going to last forever because we're bound by that contract. As long as they have capital projects going on, they're always going to have capital projects going on. But that's okay because they're probably the best supplier we can have versus the others that some cities around us have. I notice we rarely, if ever, have a water restriction, whereas city just to the north has it all the time. So that's good news. It's good for us. And you guys have done a great job. I mean, we have multiple connections, and we got a couple of projects going on. When they're done, we will have connections to multiple cities around us. If they had a problem or we had a problem, we could actually move water between cities. So not everybody has that. So you guys are doing a good job.
All right, thank you.
Okay, then I need to open a public hearing on this. Public hearing is open. Want to speak on this? Anyone here? No cards?
No, sir.
So no one is here that wants to speak, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed and a motion is in order.
I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 0-20-2114.
I'll second.
Have a motion to approve by Councilmember Nakamura, a second by Councilmember Kelly. So I'm going to start the vote with Councilmember Wheat.
Aye.
Mayor votes aye. Councilmember Dodson.
Aye.
Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Rigney.
Aye.
Aye. Councilmember Nakamura.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lindamood.
Aye.
That resolution is approved, therefore the ordinance is approved. Okay, move to. Okay, agenda item 6A, 6B, 6C, and 7A are all tabled. I have proposed earlier today, and I still propose that we leave those tabled for tonight, and probably next meeting we'll begin to take them back up. Everybody's okay with that? I'm going to just move on from there. So the next agenda item is 8, which is citizen comments. I have a card. Dr. Kathleen Hennessy.
Nice to see you all.
Good to see you.
Okay.
Definitely.
This has to do with homeowner association communities and the zero lot line homes. I had no idea there was an issue until last week. Okay, what happened was I took I own 3 feet of the land that is on the other side of the neighbor's wall,
Oh, okay.
okay? And so they get the full use of the full surface use of the of a property, and so that but I still have the rights to control things like plumbing and sewer or anything that goes on the perimeter of my property. So, woke up one morning, bang, 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 and there's workers next door were hammering the concrete hammering away the concrete foundation of my north wall, my 2-story brick wall.
Oh, wow.
I went over and had told them they had to stop, and they said they weren't going to stop, that the owner had hired them to put in a new fence, and it required them to carve out a block of, you know how a brick wall resides on a much wider concrete block. Well, they had hammered away the little side of it. So, that wall, I don't know how much instability it produced or not, but it scared me. So I phoned the city last week, and I got somebody. And I told him what was going on, and he showed up right away. Within an hour, he was there, and told them they had to stop. They couldn't do it, and and he also found out they didn't have a permit. And he told them they would have a $250 fine, and he would see them this week. All right, so everything came to a screeching halt, and thought, well, they'll get on top of this. Well, this morning, more bang, 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 and I went out, and they said, we have everything done. And I couldn't believe that, because permits take at least a week or more, especially, and so I talked to the owner of next door, a neighbor. And I said, you can't do that, you can't tear down the foundation of my wall. You can't, it needs to be spread out on both sides. She said, oh, never mind. She said, we're just replacing what was there before. And I said, no, that's a good story, but it's not true. Because you've torn away my foundation of part of my wall. So I don't know what can be done about that, but I did check with neighbors and friends in the rest of Colleyville. I said, did you know that if you have a structure and then you want to, this was a gate that they wanted to replace. If you want to replace it, you can do whatever you want, as long as you had the original permit. You don't have to go back and get it re-permitted. And I said, no. Been there, done that, and had to come and get a permit anytime anybody is doing any changes. And so, no, the owner said, no, we're fine with that. And so I don't know if this contractor actually came here and applied for a permit, and I don't know whether the owners came and applied for a permit. But what I found out from my neighbors and people I contacted today was nobody knows, nobody understands what their obligations are.
Okay.
When you replace any kind of a structure, it's not clear to them that they have to come back and get additional permit.
So I'm going to take a shot and the city manager finish this answer. I'll tell you what I think, but that doesn't mean it's right. Words are important to me in this case. You said replace and maintenance are important. If it's replacement, permit required. If it's maintenance and on existing, probably not. So what's maintenance and what's replacement?
Yeah.
And I'm going to let him answer that,
This
assuming
is
I
to
got that part
replace
right.
a gate, a big
Yeah. So that's somewhat, you can imagine that gets a little subjective sometimes. But you said something else I was really interested in. When you first started, you said you own property 3 feet on the other side of that wall.
Yes, it's a subdivision. It's a zero lot line subdivision.
And so I guess the first thought I had was, if this is your property,
Yes,
how can they build something on your property?
they're not allowed to.
That's what I
They
would
are
say.
allowed to put plants, and they can do surface
Yeah,
things,
okay.
like maybe an umbrella or something. But they can't dig down in.
Well, so I'm
into
gonna
the
pass this to the city manager first and wherever he wants to go with it, because that's the question I have. I would think if it's your property, somebody couldn't get a permit to do something on your property, but I'll pass that to you.
Especially not without my permission. Yeah.
Are you talking about the back of your property?
The what?
Is it the back of your property?
No,
It's on the side, okay.
it's on the north side.
North side,
Okay.
yeah.
'Cause I happen to be familiar with it because we've out there. The answer to your question, as far as maintenance and replacement, you can have replacement of a gate, you can have replacement of boards on a fence, and those things traditionally are maintenance endeavors. But if you are going to change the essence of what's there, or you're going to enter into any structural aspects, it's a new installation. Certainly digging up a foundation and working in that area is what I would consider a new application. So we'll find out. They may have an easement, they may have access rights, and that may be how they got to it, but that doesn't preclude their responsibility in getting a permit, and we can take a look at that.
Yeah,
So-
they have rights to above the ground access. and use.
Surface rights,
Yeah.
But they
surface
don't,
right.
yes, but they
Okay.
do not have the right to dig up
yeah,
the
okay.
foundation of my home.
Sure, and we can take a look at all those things,
Well,
but I'd be glad to help you on that. Do
Your fellow came,
you know who it was that came out
oh,
there?
I forgot to get his name. I think
Eddie Wilson.
Eddie? Okay, one of our building
he did
instructors.
very well. He laid it all out for them. Oh, and also, and they did not get a permit. And they did a number of things.
Yep.
It wasn't just that one thing. And he told them, well, you do need a permit. And-
It is common, I can say, though, that
Yeah.
where you have a shared property line, or where you have a shared common, line of fences, and there's either going to be a wall abutting a fence, or some type of dual application on both sides of it, it's not uncommon for both to have a foundation pour, whether it be a post pour or a foundation for the wall, that would of course taper out, as you mentioned. And so it may then also be something that would, if another one was being built up against it, create some situation and maybe chiseling away. But regardless of that, there should be a permit, and certainly I can come out and take a look and talk with Eddie tomorrow. And if you ever have these situations, even if it's on the weekend, you're more than welcome to call me anytime.
Well, I
So-
phoned and got your guy, and he's
Okay.
very, very good.
Good,
Very,
good.
boy, right straight down the line and very polite,
Yes.
very firm. I was very impressed. Anyway, so I would like to know, though, what we can do about educating our citizenry, because people who live in these gazebo lot line homes are not very common here, and they're not, and not only that, they're very recent. And so nobody knows about this. And so the people that are having this problem they're kind of doing it alone. And so, and they may not realize that they have certain rights. And if you look in the deeds, it says, they have full rights to the 3 feet on the other side, except for the surface, which the others are entitled to use, okay?
Yeah, there are some easement rights, though, that do go subsurface, so, but we'll have to take a look and find out for you, and I can try to get you an answer
Okay.
tomorrow, and I'll get in touch with you.
All right, thanks very much, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy.
Thank you. So that's all the cards we have for citizen comments, and there's no one else here to speak. So with that, we do not need agenda item 9, that's the ending resolution, and that brings us to adjournment. So unless somebody objects, I'm going to adjourn. Any objections?
Nope.
I see none, so we're adjourned. Thank you.
Oh,